Alright, so as we do the story of Samson, we want to see that Samson, his whole story takes place in this territory right here around the seam between Benjamin, well actually it's south, so it's after we've left the territory of Benjamin and we're into the territory of Judah. And it's on the seam of what we call the Shphelah, which is lower hills, and the coastal plain areas. So you have the high hills that go along Israel here, and then these lower hills, and then it spreads out into plains. And this seam is kind of the boundary. The Israelites stay in the hills, and the Philistines are in the coastal plains because they've come along the plains, and their strongholds are Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath. Those are the three main ones that we're going to talk about for now. There are a few others, but these are the three strongholds right here. There are a couple of little cities, Timnor and others, that we'll look at in a second. So right here near Beit Shemesh is where Samson grows up. So he grows up, let me find the map of this. He grows up right around here. This is Zerah and Eshtaol, so his father and mother are approached and learn about his miraculous birth and who he will be as they're in Zerah, but he grows up in Eshtaol, which is just around the corner of this big hill country in the forest of Eshtaol. Here are some pictures of that so you can get an idea of this forested area where Samson grew up, there in the forests of Eshtaol. And most of where he grew up, you can see in these two pictures, if I can get this to move. There we go. So looking down, this is that hill area. We get Eshtaol right around the corner, and this is the area where Samson and his family lived, right here and around this corner. And as he went along this valley, right about here is where Philistine territory starts. And so he really lived in an area that was on the border of Philistine territory. Here's a close-up of that area. So Zerah is right around here, and he comes down this valley and he's going to meet people in there. So that brings us to a close-up of this. Here you get again Eshtaol and Zerah, and this is where the territory of Dan was originally. Dan was originally had this area as their inheritance, but they weren't able to get rid of the Philistines and eventually had to migrate up north, so that they became the northernmost tribe up here, and they lost this territory because they couldn't hold it once the Philistines came in. So he's right in that territory. And there are a number of things that happen all around here. So for instance, we think we call it Beit Lehi, the house of Lehi, which means that the house of the or not Beit Lehi, but just Lehi, which means the jawbone of an ass is right here. Eshtaol here, Zerah here, Timnah, which is and Ekron are two of the big Philistine cities, and Gath right here. And so these are the inland Philistine cities, and that's the group he's going to be working with, are these people here. So he goes and he finds a Philistine wife from here, and it's the fields that are right in here. Again, we can show you this area right here. This is where the fields are that he's setting fire to with foxtails. Again, right around here, this is where the fields are that he's setting fire to with foxtails. He kills people with the jawbone of an ass here, and it's in these cities then that he has episodes with the Philistines. So he kills 30 men here to get their garments, and this is where he dies, is in Gaza, where he pulls the pillars down on himself. So all of his story is taking place in this little area that is on the border between Israel and the Philistines, and he lives and just keeps walking back and forth between Israel and Philistine areas, where I'm sure there were a lot of interaction because their fields were right next to each other.